It all started with the creak of a floorboard, a sound so faint it could have been the house settling. But Sarah felt it, a shift in the air, an unsettling whisper of movement from above. The attic. She froze mid-step, staring at the ceiling as though her gaze could pierce through it. Her husband, Jack, had laughed it off when she mentioned hearing noises late at night. "It's just the wind," he'd say, "or maybe the house creaking." But Sarah wasn't convinced. She wasn't imagining the soft thuds or the occasional sound of something dragging across the floor. The attic had been locked for years, ever since they moved in, its old key buried somewhere in a drawer. One night, as a winter storm raged outside, the noises grew louder. The howling wind masked most sounds, but amidst the chaos, Sarah heard something unmistakable. A faint cough. Her heart thudded in her chest as she sat up in bed. She turned to Jack, who was fast asleep, oblivious to the world. Gripping her phone like a lifeline, Sarah tiptoed out of the bedroom. The hallway was dark, the only light coming from the dim glow of the street lamp outside. She stood beneath the attic door, staring at the faint outline of the hatch. The silence was deafening. Thud. The sound jolted her. It came from the attic again, louder this time. She hesitated, debating whether to wake Jack or call the police. But something inside her, a mix of fear and defiance, compelled her to act. She found a flashlight in the kitchen and rummaged through drawers until she found the old brass key. It felt heavy in her hand, like a relic from another time. Taking a deep breath, she climbed the creaky wooden ladder that led to the attic door. Her hands trembled as she unlocked the hatch and pushed it open. The smell hit her first, stale, damp air that made her stomach churn. She aimed the flashlight into the darkness, the beam cutting through the gloom. The attic was cluttered with forgotten furniture and old boxes. But then she saw it, a sleeping bag tucked neatly in the corner, along with scattered food wrappers, an empty water bottle, and a pile of tattered clothes. Someone had been living here. Her breath quickened as she took a step closer. Her flashlight landed on a notebook lying near the sleeping bag. Curious, she knelt down and opened it. The pages were filled with crude sketches of the house and notes written in a messy scrawl. "Watched her in the kitchen today. She didn't notice. They leave the lights on too late. He leaves at 7 a.m. every morning. She's alone until noon." Her blood turned to ice as she realized the entries were about her and Jack. Whoever had written this had been observing them for weeks, maybe months. Before she could process the horror, she heard movement behind her. A shadow shifted in the corner of her eye. She spun around, her flashlight catching a glimpse of a man, dirty, unshaven, with hollow eyes that stared back at her. "Who are you?" she screamed, her voice breaking. The man didn't answer. He stood there, frozen, as though he hadn't expected to be discovered. Then, like a cornered animal, he lunged at her. Sarah screamed and stumbled backward, dropping the flashlight. Darkness enveloped the attic as she scrambled to get away. Her hands found the ladder, and she slid down as fast as she could. "Jack! Jack, wake up!" she yelled, slamming the attic hatch shut behind her. Jack burst out of the bedroom, startled and confused. "There's someone in the attic!" she cried, her voice shaking. Jack grabbed a baseball bat from the closet and stood guard while Sarah called the police. Minutes felt like hours as they waited, every sound amplified by their fear. The attic remained silent, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the man was still up there, watching, waiting. When the police arrived, they searched the attic thoroughly. The man was gone. The officers found the sleeping bag, the notebook, and a makeshift rope tied to a window frame, his escape route. "He must have been living here for months," one officer said, his expression grim. "He was watching you the whole time." The realization hit Sarah like a tidal wave. Every time she had been alone in the house, every night she had dismissed the noises as her imagination. He had been there. They never found him. For weeks after, Sarah and Jack couldn't sleep. They installed locks on every window and door, added cameras, and even considered moving. But the fear lingered. Every creak, every rustle of the wind made Sarah's heart race. Months later, as she was unpacking a box in the basement, she found something that made her stomach drop. Another notebook. This one was newer, its pages filled with the same messy handwriting. The last entry read, "They think I'm gone, but I'm always watching." The house went up for sale the very next day.